So the fall temperatures have arrived. There's a chill in the air. Thanksgiving right around the corner. Maybe you're saying to yourself, I want to get out of the house with the family, do something agritourism related. Corn maze, yeah, they're a lot of fun. Wine tasting, want to save the calories for Thanksgiving. Here's an idea. How about taking a trip down memory lane, or in this case, Memory Canal? Whether it's sightseeing, relaxing, taking in nature, or refreshing your knowledge of Georgia history, the Augusta Canal Petersburg boat tours have pretty much everything you need. First and foremost, let's start here at the Discovery Center to see the important role the canal played in Augusta's development.
Keeping pace with the New South is the new Augusta, fast establishing herself as the greatest inland and commercial manufacturing center in the South Atlantic states.
I don't think a lot of people realize the significance that the canal had on Augusta. One could argue maybe without the canal there would be no Augusta. I mean, what would you say to that?
Well, that's something that historians have pointed out to us. You know, the South went through a lot of changes, and the city leaders in the 1840s needed to do something because the population was leaving. And so they hit upon the idea of building this canal, which was a very forward-thinking idea at the time, to try to attract the cotton industry back to the South where the cotton was grown. And it turned out that they were right. It was a big success, and by the time the Civil War was over and the canal was enlarged, this community was one of the largest textile manufacturing centers in the entire South.
When this story was sent to me, I was looking for the agricultural value, and bingo. I mean, I found it. And when you step inside this museum, you see how much agricultural value is in here. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, absolutely. Of course, if you know the history of cotton, you know that it became an important commodity once the cotton gin was invented. The gin was invented not very far from Augusta. So as cotton grew, it exhausted the soil, and you know, the economy of the original cotton states began to decline. So Augusta needed to hang on to its population, and it looked north and it saw all this cotton that we're growing in the South, we're sending to New England and England. Why don't we bring cotton manufacturing closer to the source of the raw materials? So it was a very innovative, somewhat controversial idea in its time, but it proved to be very successful. Well, we call this the Augusta Canal Discovery Center because although it looks like a museum, it's not a museum. We tell stories about how the canal was conceived of, why it was built, how it was built, the effect it had, not just on Augusta, but on the state of Georgia and on the whole Southeast. So not only do we tell the story of the canal as an industrial revolution instigator, we were also the site of the Confederate powder works. So almost all the gunpowder made in the war for the southern side was made right here in Augusta, and it's because the canal was here to help power that manufacturing process.
So with all that knowledge in mind, we loaded up the boats and hit the high seas. All right, a little bit of an exaggeration, but nonetheless, very enjoyable and more importantly, very relaxing. With a number of cruises to choose from, you never know what you'll see on any given day. Plenty of wildlife along the canal, and from what I'm told, there's even the occasional alligator. Me personally, I'm more of a history buff, so this particular cruise was exactly what I was hoping for.
Well, you're going to go on what we call a Petersburg boat tour, and that also has a cotton connection. Petersburg was a farm-to-market town a little further up the river, and the cotton growers would bring their goods, and it wasn't just cotton, it was other agricultural products, you know, timber and corn and tobacco and whatever they grew, and bring it down to Petersburg on the Savannah River and put it on these long, narrow boats that would navigate down the Savannah through the rapids. So the boats were named after the town. Eventually, when the canal was built, it provided a nice, safe way to get around these rocky shoals that were very dangerous. So the boats would lock in at the upper canal and come safely and smoothly down to Augusta, where the goods would either be taken to the factories or shipped further on using rail and water transportation. And we do tours several times a day on general canal history. The tour you're going to take will focus on our Civil War story, which is very interesting. I think a lot of Georgians are very interested in the roles that our state played in the war. Now, Augusta was never in the conflict. We were behind the lines, but we had a big role to play in terms of furnishing the troops with gunpowder and other war material. We also do tours on Friday nights with music. So those are fun. And then about 6 times a year, we travel the entire length of the canal, which is 8 miles, go all the way up to the head gates where it starts and come back. So that last tour will be in November, and then we'll bring those back in the spring.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and a huge thanks to all the folks at the Augusta Canal Authority, as well as Rebecca Rogers, for making that story possible. Myself and John Holcomb really had a good time. Again, if you want a unique experience, head on over to Augusta and check out the canal. You can find all the info about times, dates, etc. by logging on to their website at www.augustacanal.com.